Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Joe Tossi from TechTables.com, and you're listening to the Public Sector Show by TechTables. This podcast features human-centric stories from public sector CIOs, CISOs, and technology leaders across federal, state, city, county, and higher education. You'll gain valuable insights into current issues and challenges faced by top leaders. Through interviews, speaking engagements, live podcast tour events, we offer you a behind-the-mic look at the opportunities top leaders are seeing today. And to make sure you never miss an episode, head over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and hit that follow button and leave a quick rating. Just tap the number of stars that you think this show deserves. Welcome to the Public Sector Show by TechTables. Super excited to have you all here today because my voice, I'm trying to save it for the 5 podcasts I have to do today after yelling on the floor in the afternoon. I'm gonna have you introduce yourself so I'm not shooting my voice the whole time. Manny, I'll kick off with you. Title, where you're from, and something interesting about you.
My name is Keerthi Nagothu. I'm a field CISO at SentinelOne. As part of my role at SentinelOne, I interact with product and engineering teams. And from last 1.5 years, I've been focusing on AI and data. And specifically, I focus on cyber incident response, risk management, as well as cybersecurity strategy. And I'm based out of Dallas. And this is my first time at EDUCUASE 2024. And I'm really excited to be part of it. Interesting about me, I travel a lot.
Favorite place you've traveled to?
I really liked my trip to Bolivia.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very interesting, yeah.
That's awesome. Zach?
Hi, I'm Zach Rossmiller. I'm the Chief Information Officer at the University of Montana. I've been at U for about 15 years now, a little seasoned veteran. I've been CIO for a little over 4 years now. I grew up, I guess the interesting thing about me is I grew up in a really small town north central of Dutton called Dutton, Montana. It's a small farming community, like less than 300 people. You learn to drive a tractor before you could ride a bike kind of thing. So that's what I have.
And where'd you learn how to play golf?
Self-taught YouTube, and probably not the best.
Every conference that I've seen Zach at, he is golfing. Someday he's golfing.
We'll cut that out.
Oh, we can keep that in. Tim?
I like it. So I'm Tim Winders. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Information Technology, Chief Technology Officer, and Deputy CIO for the Purdue University system. I have been with the Purdue system for 9 years now. And interesting thing about me, if you can't tell, I found the fountain of youth as evidenced by my more than 35 years in information technology.
I don't know if I believe that. 35 years?
35 years. More than that. More than that. I started in IT back in, say, 86.
I was born in 88. Birthday's
Gotcha.
next month.
See, I told you,
Yeah.
fountain of youth.
You did find it. That's incredible. Tim, as universities like Purdue are exploring integrating generative AI into higher ed, what strategic approaches do you see as crucial for addressing the challenges of access, workforce training, and student credentialing?
It's a really tough space because Gen AI exploded just recently. And so as a industry, we're trying to react to access to the technology. Everybody's heard of ChatGPT, but there are dozens of new AI platforms and apps that are rolling out every day. And so the space just grows incredibly. My concern is really on the access side, because while everybody has access to free platforms and technologies, in order to take advantage of the advanced features, you're going to have to pay a subscription for that to get the pro license or whatever somebody calls it. And this comes in and impacts directly the equity that we have around who has access to these technologies or not. In higher education, historically, we have just, put in air quotes, provided access to tools and platforms for students to use. But with Gen AI, that enterprise or professional model it blows the paradigm out of the water in how we've been able to afford that in the past, because Gen AI does not scale. If I've got 100,000 users using the platform, the company providing access to the technology has to provide that for 100,000 users, right? It doesn't scale one-to-one. It scales one-to-one. It doesn't scale exponentially like you can if I've got 100,000 users accessing Microsoft Office, for example, right? The amount of bandwidth that we're needed for that is much smaller than if I've got 100,000 people using ChatGPT. And so it gets very expensive very quickly. And we as institutions have to decide where we're going to spend our millions of dollars to support these. And then if we're not providing equitable access, we end up with students that have or have not. So it's a very complicated question that all of the universities are grappling with across the board right now. It's related to access for that.
Do you think there is, because actually every CIO across the board, it could be higher ed, everyone's, we cannot pay for the number of licenses. Do you have a solution to that or something creative? Is it just going to be the stick approach? It's bad, but yeah.
Yeah. So we're pointing users, whether they are our faculty and staff or students, towards the free enterprise licenses that we already have. Well, because as universities, we've got access to Microsoft and they provide Copilot for the web as an enterprise license for us as part of what we have with our agreement. We point people there as the first course of action. And then we provide information around what tools you can use and the limitations around those. Because with most free versions of applications, they're going to use your data to retrain the models and improve those models. And so we don't want users putting their private information, the university information, PI, into these free models, because it just creates data leaks that are out there. So pointing people towards using some of the tools that we have. And then we have developed access to some open source LLMs that we have available, that just a number of them that are out there, and connect those for research purposes to our on-campus high-performance computing platforms.
Last follow-up, because I'm really curious about this topic. How do you handle with the shadow AI piece of it, right? Used to be shadow IT, and now it's like everyone, there was some staff from Microsoft that was like, oh, we know that like X number of public sector email domains are using ChatGPT outside of the, like, how do you think about that?
We don't have a problem with shadow IT in higher education, right? No, not at all. So let's just do just that. No, I'm kidding. It is a real problem because, again, anybody can sign up for access to these different platforms. So you would have to do it through training and awareness, constant vigilance related to what platforms people can and should be using, and then, again, guiding them towards what we have. We have a more difficult problem because we're a high research university with individual departments that want to purchase and do purchase their own GPU computers and show up and say, all right, I've got this 4RU server that's got 8 GPUs in here, stick in your data center somewhere. That's harder for us to handle and have to get in front of that, working with departments across the board to understand what are your needs, what can we provide centrally, what can we provide through our high performance computing environments, versus what do they need to be able to tear down, build up, and experiment on, be able to blow these servers up, and then put those in a space that provides the necessary power and cooling for those machines that they want to build and provide research access to their students and their research labs.
Okay, that's fantastic. That's a great foundation. Zach, I want to build on Tim's answers about the strategic approaches to AI integration. So the University of Montana hosted the AI Symposium with over 300 attendees to explore AI in higher ed. You were there, right? A little bit, right? From your perspective, what strategies have proven effective in addressing the challenges and leveraging opportunities related to AI access, workforce training, and student credentialing?
I think the hardest thing is balancing the, kind of what you mentioned, Tim, but the balance between data security and privacy and not stifling innovation and letting people go out and do it. So setting up those guardrails to let people dabble in generative AI and play around with it, but then also making sure that they're doing it safely, ethically, and all that. We've taken the approach where we're dipping our toes in multiple different areas. So like marketing communications, we've deployed a few tools that kind of give us more advanced analytics on our web, seeing how people crawl around the web. And then more in IT, we've been using generative AI. We've created a couple custom GPTs that we fed a bunch of our own data to just see, can we create our own chatbot or FAQ? And most recently, we created a thing for we have a student body government, and we took all their constitution, their bylaws, all that, and dumped it into one single thing and made it an FAQ for the new senators who can come in and query, can I do this? Does this violate this? And it's still a work in progress because there's a bit, some hallucinations here and there, but we're working through that. But on the workforce front, though, this is what has been awesome to do is we're leveraging generative AI to really try, and people throw this buzzword out like operational efficiencies, and we can recognize it And so we've taken the approach of, look, we're not eliminating, it doesn't eliminate jobs right now. What we're looking at and what we're focused on is how can we help improve writing, communication, and just like getting rid of those silly tasks that take forever. And so we've taken things like role descriptions and writing out email communications and things like that that sometimes can take a couple hours. Now we've shrunk that down into 20 minutes with several different prompts. And that's helped more on the management and leadership style on that side of like, all right, now they can spend less time digging through all that. Now they can focus on helping and supporting their staff.
How is you handling the like recording of meetings? Are you allowed to do that, to grab transcripts? What's the dynamic there?
So right now we're piloting a few different products like Otter and Microsoft Teams Premium and Copilot, and we're experimenting with how that works. And in IT, we've been doing that with Microsoft Teams, where we will set up a meeting with an actual structured agenda. And then when we do the recordings, it actually spits out the transcript and it actually highlights who said what and where, and gives us a good breakdown. It allows us to not take as much notes, if you will. Yeah. But it is interesting too, because then I'll take the transcript and summarize it through generative AI, and I'm like, wow, so maybe that meeting could have been done in an email.
Okay, I love, this is one of my favorite use cases right now, because we talked about this because we met on Zoom, and then afterwards, and so I use an app called Fellow, and it will process the transcript, and then my assistant, Riley, thanks Riley, goes in, gets a notification in Slack, goes in, grabs the transcript, uses the pre-made prompts, runs it in Claude, and then in Notion, we have a database of every meeting, every podcast, and then she will then Slack me the Notion doc, and it has exactly what I need, right? The most succinct summary, key takeaways. I'm thinking too, this should have been an email. We talked a long time. And then I'm going through this, and what I love is then being able to connect. It's basically a private LLM, and I'm like, hey, so Timothy's at Purdue, and he really cares about Gen AI. What other CIOs care about this type of topic? And then it will comb through my entire, and I label it to these specific databases, and it will go through the databases I have and go, hey, you know what? This person talked about, this person says, don't ever talk about Gen AI with them too much. They're bored. And I'm like, oh, great. We'll never talk to that CIO about that. And so like that, finding themes, insights, like speeding up those tasks, love those use cases so much. Yeah, it's a game changer. You can tell I'm excited. I'm like, yeah, oh, I love those. Those are fantastic use cases. I love those. Yeah. So Manny, let's shift to cybersecurity. So you've spoken about AI, particularly LLMs impacting both threat actors and defenders in the context of higher ed, where institutions often have to balance access to data protection. How do you see this kind of AI versus AI scenario playing out?
Yeah, so when we talk about education sector, right, so it's usually social engineering or some kind of malware attack on the university or the college. And when we speak about this, we definitely have to see like what's going on the threat actor side, because according to National Cybersecurity Center of UK, threat actors are using AI, so particularly LLMs, to improve their reconnaissance process, to improve their social engineering techniques. And in the recent news, you have seen a lot of talk about deepfakes too, right? There are like various areas where threat actors are trying to use LLMs, and there are like other research reports which also talk about helping out with language translation. When we talk about language translation, it's just not English. We're talking about other languages in the world too, right? LLMs is helping with that as well. So you basically refine the payloads out there. And on that side, there are like varied attacks that threat actors are exploring as well. Prompt injection attacks, data poisoning, AI business email compromise, or AI-powered malware, and all of them doing in the whole kill chain process, like starting with reconnaissance and then execution. As per this National Cybersecurity Center report, so definitely it's helping out novice threat actors. It's giving them some level of upskill, because earlier they needed knowledge about a particular malware to write a code or write anything else related to a particular ransomware family. Now they have it all on their hands, writing about it. But if we flip the script to defender side, there's a lot of progress going on cyber defender side as well, how AI can be leveraged by security teams. So starting with the SOC, because security operations team always burdened with these challenges of like skill shortage, SOC burnout, trying to look up like tons of alerts coming through their console, trying to find out if this alert is an incident or not. So helping them out in those respect. And SentinelOne has launched Purple AI, which is basically based on LLMs as well, helping out SOC analysts, trying to understand, okay, so can I ask a question to the chat LLM, Purple AI? Basically, am I a threat, or do I have a threat actor like Fin 12 in my environment? And then it spits out a threat summary, detailing out all the endpoints related to that. Leveraging that and understanding that defenders can maximize their potential, exploiting the expertise that comes with AI because that gives you the leverage, and also handling the volume because you have volume of alerts coming into your console. And always SOC have this problem of backlog of threat detection, so addressing that. And then time, right? It's also necessary that when you're in cyber incident response, you have to respond timely. So it's like understanding like where SOC can use AI to the maximum.
Yeah, I really like that. In Arizona, when we had that event, there's a lot of talk about upskilling the junior analysts with AI, which I think is super smart. On a consumer side, I love what you said about Gen AI for the threat actors. I grew up in the era, I was selling stuff on Craigslist all the time, right? I'm sure maybe Craigslist, come on, yeah. And at the time, it would be like, these are so bad. I was just the kid that was like, this person's not in Santa Barbara, he's not even in this country. Now I'm getting phishing emails. I'm like, this is really good. This is real, man. And I'm the one looking at this, and I'm like, if I'm my wife, my friends, they're going to be clicking on stuff. I'm like, I'm constantly telling them, like, do not think just because Joe at Tech Table is sending you an email that this is really me. But I like that you brought that up. It's really good. Zach, this dovetails really well with Cyber Montana, which serves as a state hub for cyber workforce education, providing cybersecurity opportunities, training, and development across Montana. Tell us more about Cyber Montana and how these initiatives are enhancing cybersecurity awareness statewide.
Cyber Montana was an initiative that we launched a few years ago at the University of Montana to focus on how do we educate and train the workforce across the state of Montana on cybersecurity. And so we've been tackling in different buckets. One is around upskilling current IT folks, making sure that they're staying current with the latest and greatest trends, performing security and awareness trainings. And so we go into a business and we provide trainings and everything to their staff to make sure they don't fall for the, hey, can you go get me a gift card attack? And then third, we've hosted tabletop exercises. And so we've done one with the energy department. So we brought in the large energy business company in Montana and a lot of co-ops. And we actually ran through an exercise of what would happen if. And that's been really successful and great. And the other piece that we've built out is a security operations center where we bring in students through our 2-year program at Missoula College. That's a 2-year cybersecurity program. We also have a 4-year cybersecurity bachelor's degree program through our College of Business now. So what we're working towards is bringing in these students, have them work in our help desk in IT for about a year, and then we pivot them into the SOC where they can get real life hands-on experience. So we have tools like SentinelOne, which Purple AI I'm super thrilled with and excited for. And we get the students really hands-on, get them trained up, get them real life experience of understanding what that looks like. And I call it experience, like it's experiential learning experience for them because they're getting the degree, the academic, the book smarts, but then they're also getting their hands dirty with actual work with the idea that then we can let them graduate. And as our friend Kevin Gilbertson said in his podcast with you, sometimes cybersecurity or entry-level jobs are still requiring multiple years of experience. And so fresh graduates don't have that experience. So when we graduate them, they'll have multiple years of experience working on a very large enterprise of cybersecurity to get them placed at maybe the state or something. And we've had examples to where just recently I had a cybersecurity position where this person was a student. We hired them as a full-time cybersecurity analyst. They worked for us for 2 years, and now they are working at a very large corporation doing cybersecurity. And our idea of that pipeline model of starting young with our students and moving them into a career and letting them launch. With the idea, again, going back to Kevin's podcast about having an alum, like now we have that alum who can speak highly of what our SOC has done for them how it helped prepare them for their career, with the idea that, maybe in a few 20 years when they want to settle down and come back to campus to work for us again, great. The Cyber Montana thing has been it's very rewarding because it's like my side gig with other folks across, but it's just one of those things where we go in, just sit down with the business and talk to them about what happens if this happens. And they're like, I don't know. I don't even know who I would call. Then also helping them understand, all right, if your clerical staff fell for a phishing attack, here's how we could help. And it's just helped creating a lot of awareness across the state because we're a rural state and a lot of people don't understand that. And now with AI, how sophisticated these attacks are going to get. And just thinking in the back of my mind with you, Joe, you have how many podcasts out now with your voice? I could go in and make a deep fake of you pretty dang quickly.
So easy. It's so easy. Don't do that.
And I can go maybe tell your wife, hey, actually, you should have Joe go buy Zach new golf clubs. He really deserves it.
There's that. That's class. Babe, don't do that. Okay, this is really good. It's so funny. Okay, so first off, for some context for the audience, who he's talking about is Kevin Gilbertson, who is the CIO for the state of Montana. And Kevin is absolutely fantastic. He's been on the podcast twice. And episode 81, we'll link in the show notes, is where we specifically talked about the workforce of the future, growing your public sector alumni. You summarized it perfectly. As far as the whole deep faking me, don't do this at home. Now, even more now, when people say, hey, Timothy said this, Joe said this, it actually really might not be true. And so you're like, I love this quote. I think it's from Ronald Reagan. It was like, trust but verify, right? Like very apropos to like everything. And so that's how I view it, is like, I trust you, but let me just verify that what you said is actually true, especially in today's context where my voice is on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, every transcript is online. You could say, Joe said that. You could go to Canva right now and create a graphic. You can create an iPhone message. Joe texted me this. I'm like, I've never seen that in my life, but you could do it. Don't do that at home. Yeah, it's just a very crazy world. And my wife, babe, if you get a request for golf clubs, since you know I don't golf, please don't buy golf clubs for Zach. Maybe send him a gift card. So Tim, Purdue has a strong reputation for innovation, especially in the STEM fields. How are you integrating AI and cybersecurity concepts across the school and not just in computer science?
Purdue is a big engineering school. And so one of the things that we did was create the Institute for Physical Artificial Intelligence, or as we call IPI. And this is a research institute that we're looking at how to incorporate artificial intelligence into the everyday world, right? The physical objects that we use, not just talking about Gen AI, but talking about how we can improve what we're doing across the board. So we've incorporated this into agriculture, where we now have We're at a conference where we now have robots that will go out and inspect the cornfields to look for rot or insects, or actually inspect the produce that's out there in the field, right? We've got robots that can start to pick tomatoes and go through a vine and actually pick the ripe tomatoes and leave the green tomatoes behind. And so how can we make our world enhanced with using artificial intelligence? So this covers all of our fields, right? We've heard about a lot of the things that are happening in medicine. Obviously we're doing some stuff with Gen AI and in writing and how we think about that. But in fields, even in computer science, we say, ooh, this is hard. In creating new, for example, physical safety systems, gunshot detection that have artificial intelligence built into the capabilities, where now we can recognize gunshots in a very inexpensive way with like Raspberry Pi devices. You put sensors around an entire building. You can cover something like this conference center for a few $100s. Which is absolutely amazing when you think about the millions of dollars that gunshot detections cost just a few years ago. So we have, the last I counted, 25 different disciplines that we're doing some sort of AI research across Purdue using our high performance computing. And they cover all of our areas in colleges. It's really exciting things that are happening.
I love that. That's a lot of fun. I also want to tour at some point when I visit your guys'.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Area.
Yeah, I'd love to show you our data centers.
I love that. Manny, as AI reshapes the cybersecurity landscape, you've touched a lot on this, but what essential skills should universities prioritize for their students as they're looking to the future?
Sure. I think I really like what Jack mentioned about getting that experience and then going into the market like with experienced professionals. I think you do it better. I think having those industry interactions, like folks working in cybersecurity, having those connections and adjusting your curriculum according to the tech changes in the market would definitely help. And also bringing awareness about different careers in cybersecurity, because cybersecurity is just not security operations. You have GRC, you have network security, application security. I think that awareness is also key so that students are aware of these career paths that they can take. And definitely, yeah, having those interactions. And SentinelOne is a strategic partner with women in cybersecurity. So as part of that, we do have continuous webinars over the year that we do with them. And we basically share our experiences working in AI or cybersecurity. For example, I think a few weeks back, our women from SentinelOne basically did a webinar with women in cybersecurity, talking about our experiences of working at the intersection of AI and cybersecurity. It gives an awareness to students as to what are the career paths and what can be done. So that would be it.
Love it. Tim, so as we close out right now, I love this conversation. Who would you recommend? Who should join the conversation next on the podcast?
Oh wow, put me on the spot. You did everybody. I don't know. I think that you could talk to anybody today if you want to talk about AI, and they're going to have some opinion on that. You obviously you work closely and represent people in the Big Ten, but from community colleges to state colleges to private institutions in the higher education space, we're all looking at higher ed, at AI, and what does it mean for our business practices, for our instructional learning. I think that'd be a great space. Do you have people that you've interviewed yet talking about teaching and learning specifically? So outside of the IT space and more into the classroom space, or faculty, that how they are actually incorporating AI into their pedagogy and learning practices, right? You talked a little bit about how you use AI in developing this show, right? And I think that type of introspection will give a lot of eye-opening. Say, oh, you can do that? That's really cool. And it's not cheating, right? I'm not using it to write my English paper, right? I'm actually using AI to become more productive in a way that used to take me hours or 10 people. Now just ask, who should I talk to about AI? And that's a great example. But I'm not going to give you any specific names.
That's okay. That was exactly like Kyle Bowen, who's the deputy CIO at ASU. He was like, I can't think of anybody. I will email you, but here's the type of people you should talk to.
Exactly.
Zach, who else should I interview?
Students.
Okay.
You should get a student's perspective on this. I had multiple student groups over last spring and the summer and just talked to just random student groups across campus to get in their feel of what kind of AI tool do you use or what would you use? How are you feeling? And it was interesting, the perspectives of each group, because each group had came from different walks of life and different backgrounds. And the equity piece around AI is a very interesting thing with students because some can afford it, some cannot. Some would prefer just getting the AI tool from Grammarly and that's all they need. They just need coaching on how to write. They don't want to actually have the tool write for them. They need just coaching and how to do things and give feedback. And that other people that I've talked to, because a lot of faculty worry about cheating and all that kind of things. And it's interesting that some students that I've talked with, they're like, no, I just need help, just understanding. And so then we get into this big topic around these virtual AI faculty advisors. And then the question of intellectual property and who owns what comes into play. And that's the interesting piece. And I will never give away the student's name, but they're like, if I'm cheating, I'm just going to go on Chegg or something and getting the answer. I don't need AI for that. And it's just fascinating. That would be my advice: is to go talk to students from all high school to college and just get their opinion on what that looks like for the future for them. And then if you're a nerd, which I know you are, Joe, the NAIR project with the National Science Foundation, they're doing a lot of different research with AI, and just keep your eye out on who those principal investigators are and maybe reach out to a few of them and just interview them and just ask them how they're working with AI in their research field. Because I think that those types of projects are going to be, this might be over exaggeration, but could revolutionize or evolve over time.
Yeah, it's great. For those who don't know, I coach high school basketball, so and tryouts are November 1st. But during the season, I see the high schoolers. I copped to this on camera already, but there was a guy last year who was a senior applying for colleges and scholarships. It was like, I need help writing my scholarship. I will not name the student, but I sat down, helped him go get out of 0 and get to at least get to 1 and then help him from there. And he was just like, this is amazing. This is a game changer. I get a text message, dude, I'm writing my biology paper first year in college. I'm like, that is not how this works. I'm like, just know, like, you better be like, not using the whole thing. Or
You think about non-native English speakers and how that helps lower that barrier for some of them of writing college entry papers or even scholarships. Like that helps flatten or level the playing field for a lot of non-native English speakers.
Yeah.
But kudos to your student.
yeah. There's a democratization that is just, I am one guy with a camera right there in a bedroom and then here at the event. It's crazy what you can do just with media and code and like at scale, which is pretty cool. Mandy, anyone you would recommend? It could be a CIO, CISO, a friend of yours.
I would say that I think you are already doing a great job, and definitely I cannot name like how Tim and Jack said, but you are already creating a collaborative environment. I think this collaborative partnerships, like today I learned a lot from like Tim and Jack with the unique and the specific challenges that education sector faces and how you're managing them. So creating this collaborative environment, and definitely SentinelOne want to be part of that, and learn so much as well as share whatever insights that we get.
Love it. Thank you for coming on the Public Sector Show by Tech Tables. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Pleasure being here.
Thank you.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Joe Tossi from TechTables.com, and you're listening to the Public Sector Show by Tech Tables. This podcast features human-centric stories from public sector CIOs, CISOs, and technology leaders across federal, state, city, county, and higher education. You'll gain valuable insights into current issues and challenges faced by top leaders. Through interviews, speaking engagements, live podcast tour events, we offer you a behind-the-mic look at the opportunities top leaders are seeing today. And to make sure you never miss an episode, head over to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and hit that follow button and leave a quick rating. Just tap the number of stars that you think this show deserves.